I think it's whenever you don't win, you're disappointed, and I think he's continued to work and he's continued to develop. I feel like, and as our whole group has, just hasn't always carried over to the field, which is easy to get frustrated. But I think whenever you got a team sport like football, it always is a ton of things that go into being successful, and there's a ton of things that go into when you struggle. And the biggest thing is those guys know that we have good players, and they have worked hard, and they've done some great things, and they have the ability to be very good at offense and very good in the passing game, but just got to continue to grind and know that eventually that's going to show back up on Saturdays.
What do you see from him from a comfort perspective when he's standing back there in the pocket? I mean, does it look like he's totally comfortable to you?
I think so, and I think he's developed in some ways. I think there are some plays that, as there is in any loss, it's so easy to look at it and just be frustrated, but there's some things that you can take from it and say, I think like, for example, there's a couple 1st and 10 or normal down distance passes where, he came back and he checked it down, he got it out of his hand, little things like that. Now, was it perfect? No, it's far from it, of course, and we got to continue to work. But there are some areas where you're seeing him take those steps, and I think he's, it's a sign of his comfort level.
Does he ever get happy feet?
I think he's too slow to get happy feet, but no, I think.
You've been pretty hard again.
I tell you what, he is a good athlete, and he can move around when he has to. And the one against Old Dominion, he called it a spin move. I don't think it's been proven that it actually was yet. I mean, I think like anybody, he's just out there competing and trying to make plays. I don't think there's anything that's shown up that, I thought. He was banged up towards the end of the Virginia game. I thought he got off some stuff, and there's times, but I think all in all, he's done everything he's asked to do. He stood back there and competed, and with that said, with all these guys, you just want them to keep being coachable and keep wanting to learn and improve on it, and he's done all that.
Do you guys give him that green light a little bit more as the season goes on? The green light to take off and run if he likes to, or if he sees something?
Yeah, I mean, I think that. If he needs to make a play with his feet, he's capable of doing that. But I don't think anything's changed in what we've told him. It's just showing up different places.
He got knocked around, obviously, a lot in the Virginia Tech games, kind of along the lines of the happy feet. I mean, mentally, is he maybe feeling pressure quicker, or, sensing it, getting a little jumpy a little bit, you know what I mean?
I get where you're going with it, and I think that as a quarterback, the hard thing is that every game, every play is kind of its own entity. You know what I mean? You can't let one play affect the next, one game affect. So it is something that I said. We talked about of, hey, there's that game you held on the ball or whatever happened, myriad of reasons you took some hits. You can't let that affect the next play or the next game. And like I said, I think it showed up a little bit at the end of the Virginia game, but I think he's really. Work to know when to get the ball out of his hand, to know when he has time to read it out and understand the situation of the game. So it's so hard when every play is different, every situation is different. 1st and 10 and the second series of the game is a lot different than 3rd and 6 at the end of the game. So you just got to continue to coach those situations, and that's where I think he has continued to develop an understanding of what the purpose of the play is, what the situation calls for.
Because his window is closing, does he play and study with a sense of urgency and maybe a little frustration sometimes?
I think there's certainly been a sense of urgency going back to this spring and this summer, last spring and summer, and I think that you're always going to have that with seniors, and I think we need to continue to have that sense of urgency. I mean, the whole team should. This is when you play this game and you get old, you realize that you don't get that many opportunities to go out there and strap it up and play in a game, and especially the ones that we got left on the schedule. So I think the whole group should have a huge sense of urgency to get this ship right and get it going in the right direction.
How are these guys as a group? You know, we see Tom obviously in the game, but you see the other guy, Chad and Trey, and how are they developing, and how do you develop them as the season goes on?
Good. You just try and keep them coming along. It gets harder this time of the year when you're game plan, and obviously the starters getting the majority of the attention on a weekly basis. But Tommy's been great with those guys, and really fortunate to have a fun room to where you got three guys who really want to learn. They enjoy the process. They don't, nobody's too sensitive. Not too sensitive, but so we're able to talk and communicate and really kind of learn together in there. So, we're hoping as you go forward with those guys that it really shows up down the road or whenever their time is called.
With Tom, I know we talked before the year about how he's a fifth-year senior, but not really because he hasn't played in so long, only second year here. Has his development, gone as you've expected through 7 games, or has anything, surprised you about the challenges of dealing with his sort of unique situation this year?
Yeah, I guess I've been pleased with the way he's approached things and continued to develop. I don't know exactly how I expected it, you know what I mean? I still think his ceiling is somewhere out here, I think he's still climbing into the player that he can be, and you just hope that as a coach, that's where obviously, there's a lot of different ways people look at the profession or your position, but when I feel pressure is that I get him to that spot. I guess I should say help him, but ultimately he's got to get himself there, but I really hope that I can do everything I can to help get him to kind of reach his potential, before time's up.
You played in the league. Do you think he could, be an NFL guy? He's got the potential to do that?
Yeah, I think he does. I think who knows what happens. It's hard to always project what happens, but it'll be interesting to see, and I think as long as he keeps growing, he'll have great opportunities.
Thanks, Brooke.